The typewriter. Somewhere in the bowels of a manual typewriter is a long, thin spring. Rob Fortney didn't know about it until he found one dangling from the top of the typewriter when he arrived at typing class one day. Playing his usual part as a class clown, Rob displayed the spring in the only way he knew, wrapped around his head and dangling all the way to the floor. When Mr. Bader arrived to his class, seconds after Rob thought the idea was worth a laugh, he had no context for what had occurred. In Bader's mind, Fortney had ripped it out of the typewriter and used it as a headband. 3 others had arrived in the class with Rob and could attest to Rob's version of the story, that is, if Bader thought to ask. But he didn't ask. Mr. Bader made a beeline to Rob and confronted him. "Where'd you get this?" "It was on top of my machine," said Rob. "Probably not. Just a minute." Bader went to his desk, took out a blank sheet of paper and a stapler, and returned to Rob. He snatched the spring from Rob's hand, bunched it up, and stapled it 4 times to the paper. "Mr. Fortney, I need you to take this to Principal Owen's office immediately and explain it to him. Willful destruction of school property is a punishable offense." "But, Mr. Bader—" "Go, now." Rob Fortney dreaded telling the story to Principal Owens, but it'd be worse if he never went or even lied to him. As Rob finished the story, the principal studied him. "Tell you what, Rob, I believe what you said. Probably shouldn't have made it a headband, though. But just between me and you, I would have done the same thing when I was your age." Rob smiled. He had never met the principal face to face before, but was starting to like him. "Now, Rob," the principal said as he rose to usher Rob out, "I know this wasn't your fault, and we could probably figure out who did this based on who was in the class last, but I'm going to drop this whole thing on one condition." Rob rose and said, Sure. What's that?" "Sure." The principal opened the door and said, "No fancy headphones from here on out, okay?" "Right, sir. No fancy headbands."